With 8th edition on the way and entirely new rules, I figured it's a good chance to go back over some of the history. And we're going to start here with the 3rd edition Orc Codex, which was the first one that I started playing with, because that's when I started playing, was 3rd edition. So I actually started playing after this came out, because, you know, 3rd edition, if you don't know, 3rd edition was such a complete revamp of the rules that they had all the basic army rules in the main rulebook. Kind of like what they're doing with 8th, where they're completely starting over with a whole new set of rules. So this, I actually started playing shortly after this came out, after 3rd edition did. So this is the 3rd edition Orc Codex. We're just going to go over some cool things in here. Highlight the differences. This was, I think it's copyright 99. Yep, 1999, there it is right there. Okay. So there's not a lot of fluff in this book. Just a couple pages at the start and a few pages at the end. And it gets right into the rules. Starting with the Orc Special Rules. Of course, mixed armor. Because you could mix armor, heavy armor, 6+ saves. And there was no provision for that in the main rules. You got this right here. Orc mob rule, the old 3rd edition mob rule, which was really cool. Because basically what happened when a unit fell back as normal, but instead of falling off the table, it fell back towards another unit and joined it. Still counted as being destroyed, but it bolstered the other unit. And so it really, really had to kill these guys down to a model to be effective. That was always a really cool rule, I thought. Power of Law. The Power of Law in this one is double initiative, so there was no Furious Charge. Which means that orcs on the charge hit at initiative 4, and if you gave the war boss a, it was just like a chopper, a big chopper, he would actually strike at initiative 8. I got a funny story about that. There was one guy who was just being a pretentious douchebag in the gaming store saying about how Solitaire or something that was initiative 8 and strikes before anything in the game. And I was like, well, no, I can strike at initiative 8 too. And he goes, who? No, an orc war boss. We don't know why. But anyway, that was kind of like a... And I was a new player too. So I was like, wait a minute, no, I can do initiative 8. So the armory war gear worked a lot differently back then. Instead of, you know, fixed options, you had a certain number of points you could spend on a character. And you go get any number of options up to that points limit. And your vehicle grade upgrades, some of them I really miss. The old armor plates were basically a 6-up invul save. Boarding plank used to be really cool. You actually do a close combat attack against another vehicle inside your vehicle. It was great for power claws. And the old spikes and blades, you would actually, anyone assaulting your vehicles would take damage. Kind of like the fragmentation, some sort of grenades that Tau have now. Basically it's like that. So they would be like literally spikes and blades stuck on the vehicle and they would poke themselves assaulting it. And of course the cyborg body was an invul save, and like it was in the 4th Codex. So here's the differences here. So let's talk about this. So the war boss was 60 points, same price he is now. The only difference, he was only toughness 4 instead of toughness 5. Otherwise, it's exactly the same. Oh, and the other big war gear change was right here. Big Horns, Iron Gob, War Boss and Knobs, only 6 points for +1 leadership. Oh, how that would be so nice now. That was one of the things I'm very upset they got rid of. So you would take your war boss, and then you give them a bodyguard, which includes Knobs, Mech Boys, and a Mad Doc, which is basically a pain boy with for that feel no pain. So this would be you know, a command squad basically, with bunch of knobs and yeah, bikes. No, there's no war bike on here. Oh well. So you couldn't give them all bikes before. So you got the big mech with Big Mech's bodyguard, being a Mech Boys. Pain Boss, you could actually have, so this is knob stats here for Pain Boss. You could actually have, so this was the current Pain Boy in stats wise. And his bodyguard would be cyborgs, which were 13 points of models, which were basically orc boys with toughness 5 and cyborg bodies for a 5-up invul save. I wouldn't complain about that. I would take units of these any day of the week with 5-up invul save and feel no pain from the Pain Boss and toughness 5. That would be a heck of a unit. Let's see, Storm Boys, Commandos. So Storm Boys were elites. Ard Boys were an elite choice instead of a troops choice. And there's no limits on here, so you could take all Ard Boys. Scar Boys is the other thing I'm really missing, which would have been cool, which is basically orc boys that are halfway between boys and knobs. So they're boy stats, except they have strength 4 instead of strength 3. And Scar Boys would be, again, an excellent choice to bring back being strength 5 on the charge with Furious Charge. Of course, we don't know if there's going to be Furious Charge in 8th, but it would be really nice to have Scar Boys back. Flash Kits are elites, and basically what they have is Shootas, which you can customize. Shootier, Blasta, and Mordaka, which I'll explain later. Basically, you get to bump up the Shoota power. Troops were boys, and Slugger Boys and Shooter Boys. So a lot more. I mean, the boys were 9 points a model. Shooter Boys were 8 points a model. And the reason why the Shooter Boys were cheaper is because at that point the shooter was rapid fire instead of assault. And they couldn't take heavy armor because the Ard Boys could do that. The Ard Boys were a separate unit. So Knob was an 11-point upgrade instead of a 10. So these, back in the old day, they didn't just stay, everything was just 5 points before. Here's everything's like 3, 2, 3, 6, 8. Kind of not sticking to just 5 points or nothing really helps balance out the upgrades, I think. Stick bombers. So these are basically orc boys with stick bombs, frag and crack stick bombs. So you actually could have crack grenades in this book, which you don't have anymore. Burner Boys, Tank Busters, basically the same thing. Tank Hunter Rule, basically the same. Gretchen's basically the same. And those are all troops. So you could have Shooter Boys, Slugger Boys, Stick Bombs, Burner Boys, Tank Busters, and Gretchens as your troops choices. How awesome would that be to have Tank Busters and Burners for troops? Fast attack. Here's the interesting is that Truck Boys were actually fast attack. They were a separate unit that had their own truck. Trucks haven't changed much at all, by the way. Except, where's the truck? The truck's over here in the very first page. Ass open top. Yeah, there's nothing changed about it. There's even the same points. So that was interesting. War buggies. The other thing here are war bikes. War bikes were so much more expensive. But the nice thing about them being more expensive, they were actually fearless. They had a lot of. They were both fearless, and it could only go up to 10. They were fearless. Of course, they didn't have the toughness bonus back then. The save was only a 5-up instead of a 4-up. They were fearless, which made them very, very useful. They had the exhaust cloud, which always gave them a 5-up cover. So, and the other thing they could do, in assault, bikers can use their big shooters to blast the enemy at point-blank range, breaking through their lines and storm shrapnel. That means war bikes that charge into close combat strike first and make a shooting attack on the enemy on their first round instead of fighting normally. So they roll 3 dice, hitting on 5s with twin links, and rerolls and resolve with a strength and AP of 5. So you could actually shoot the first round of combat instead of attacking normally. How much fun would that be? So yeah, they were a lot more expensive at 30 points a model, and they were worth every single point. Dude, these old war bikers were just fantastic. Big guns, Ludas. Ludas were completely different, of course, because they didn't have the def guns. They actually looted Imperial Guard or Space Marine weapons. So you could actually have a unit of Ludas with sniper rifles. And I was actually working on converting a unit just before this book was replaced. I built one, and then this book went away and they couldn't do that anymore. Orc Dreadnought, see, here's the proper name, Dreadnought, not Def Dread. Killer cans were way, I mean, 45 points. They're actually more expensive now. And you still had to... Yeah, so they were 45 points. And weapon skill 4. Oh, they had crews of orcs instead of grots. So they had weapon skill 4, ballistic skill 2. Interesting. Battle wagon and looted vehicles. The old looted vehicle rules where you could actually loot an actual Imperial Guard or Space Marine vehicle. Rhino, Razorback, Predator, Land Raider, Chimera, Hellhound, Griffin, Leman Russ, Battle Tank, Leman Russ, Demolisher, Basilisk. I actually had a looted Basilisk at one time, which I sold. So, and you actually pay the points that were in that actual book. So, the old looted vehicle rules, you could actually run Basilisk. You could actually have an actual Armor 14 Land Raider to deliver your guys. Or taking a Hellhound. Oh, that was one of the things I wanted to do, again, before the book was replaced. So, we got some nice artwork with all the old models. One of these, somebody's custom battle wagon here. Who's that? Adrian Woods custom battle wagon. Andy Chambers custom trucks there, or buggies, one or the other. Painting. Lots of stuff here. More paint. Converting tips or conversions. How many? Right in the book. Orcs are made for to be converted, and here it is, right here. Even right here, got a nice truck with plastic, with custom work, plastic card, and yeah, track. These are war track wheels or biker wheels. Yeah, so even in the book, they said just convert up. What is this? This is somebody's turret converted into a dreadnought. Fun stuff. Conversions right in the book. And somebody's Gargant. Some of the old orc terrain. And then, of course, let's get into the war gear. So those other ones are saying about the flash kits. See, Mordaka. A shooter comes to strength 5, assault 2. Shooter, let's see. Oh no, Mordaka makes it assault 2 instead of rapid fire. Shooter made it strength 5, and custom Mega Blaster made it AP 3 up to 12 inches, and AP 2 is within 6. But then it gets hot. Interesting. So, and those were very expensive. I think they added up to like, what was it, 10 points per model to get all 3 of those upgrades. Let's see. Here we get into the characters. So let's talk about Nazdrag, probably the biggest thing that's missing here. So basically, it was just a mega armored war boss with custom Blaster X, which was basically a plasma cannon. So 36-inch range, strength 7 AP2, assault 1 blast. Assault 1 blast gets hot. So, and he was also ballistic skill 4. You can see that. So that was really cool. Let's see. Man, this is lots of cool rules for Nazdrag. Cunning plans. Nazdrag is renowned for its low cunning, sneaky plans. One elites or troops mob in Nazdrag's army can use either the infiltrators or deep strike rules. Nazdrag is a member of Bad Moons, a well-known. Let's see. Nazdrag leads an army, may include up to 1 extra heavy support unit over above the numbers shown on the force org chart. It may not include more than 1 unit of each of the following troops or vehicles: Scar Boys, Storm Boys, Commandos, Sucker Boys, Stick Bombers. Independent character, of course, and a bodyguard. Gazgul's a member. Here's Gazgul. Basically the same points, 226. Let's see, Power of the War, blah blah blah. Requires at least 1 unit of Scarboys. There's Boss Zagstruck, Mad Dog Grotznick. Used to be just 96 points. Boss Snickrod and the Red Skull Commandos. So not a whole lot has changed there, just missing Nazdrag. And Wazdaka. Wazdaka is the old biker war boss. Let's see, War Gear, Twin-Linked Autocannon, Custom Blaster, Power Claw. Well, that's quite a bit different. And then a little bit of more fluff here. A couple more pages, and that's it. And then some of the old paper templates. So that is the 3rd edition Orc Codex. There's a lot of cool stuff in here. I wish I would have kept mainly the Fearless War Bikes, but overall, pretty fun book. I had a lot of fun playing this for sure, especially with those Initiative 8 war bosses. So I'll be doing other such things in the future, and thanks for watching.